right, thank you. I'd like to call the rescheduled monthly meeting of September 29, 2022 to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Baldowski.
Here.
Mr. Barbarolo.
Here.
Ms. Favolovich. Mr. Itkin.
Here.
Mrs. Mahan.
Present.
Ms. Quackenbush.
Here.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Here.
Mr. Spindell.
Present.
And Mr. Vanta.
Here. New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to advance notice of and attend the meetings of any public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, date, time, and place having been distributed thereof to the persons on the approved list posted in the Board of Education Administrative Office, sent to the Bergen Record and the Star Ledger. The announcement posting for the rescheduled monthly meeting along with the date, time, and place thereof was distributed on September 7, 2022. The items to be discussed during the closed work session of September 29th. Rescheduled monthly meeting may include personnel matters, student matters, legal matters, negotiations on their grievances, and tactics and techniques utilized in protecting public safety and property. The results of these discussions will be made public as soon as possible. Would you join me in a flag salute, please? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Norcia for superintendent comments.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being back for our first September meeting of the 22-23 school year. Things are off and running and moving in the right direction in a post-COVID world. Feels good to be back. Feels good to be in the schools, to see our kids having fun again, to see positive energy, our teachers. Things are moving. Things are moving, and it's just really proud to see our schools continue to flourish and our students. With that being said, I'd like to acknowledge Asha, who is our Fair Lawn High School student rep. She will be at our meetings moving forward. She will, at the next October board meeting, she will give an update from the high school. We will be having our first student dialogue meeting in October prior to our board meeting. But at all of our meetings moving forward, we will have our high school student dialogue rep as well as our 2 middle school reps as well. Excuse me. One of the things that I'm required to report out on to the Board of Ed at a public meeting is the information regarding our students who acquired their high school diplomas. Last year, 376 students in district graduated, as well as 8 students who were out of district graduated with Fair Lawn High School diplomas. Of those students, none of the students graduated under the substitute competency test process. Of those students, 2 students graduated under the portfolio appeals process. Number of students receiving state endorsed high school diplomas as a result of a meeting any alternative requirements such as IEPs. We had 8 for language arts and 2 for math. So those are the numbers that we are reporting out on. 376 in district and 8 out of district students that graduated last year. That is my reporting for the night.
Thank you very much, Mr. Norcia. Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask for public comments. If you could just step up to the podium, state your name, sign in the book, and direct your comments, questions to the chair. And you got 3 minutes, so. Hi, Alba.
Hi, Alba Morales from Both Terrace. I looked at the agenda and there is this proposal from the architect, from a group of architects to do a capacity analysis on the high school and the 2 middle schools, and I was surprised by that because the numbers currently of overcapacity schools are Mills, Radburn, Warren Point, and TJ. So I was surprised that the elementary schools are not included in the analysis, and Memorial, that has twice the size and half the students of TJ, is included in the study. So I was just very surprised. It's also not including forest, that is projected to get over capacity in 2026 and 2027. I was also surprised to see that they're doing, three-dimensional analysis of the rooms, given that, the ceiling space cannot be usable. I understand also that how a building is used depends on the cohorts, and these cohorts are changing, and they're not changing based on increase in the birth rate, but based on the increase and influx of students for many different grades and many different places. So those cohorts are not moving at the same pace. It's not because we have a lot of kindergarteners, it's because we have an increase or influx of students across all the grades. So how is this analysis gonna come handy in 2 years? Is this, architects are gonna have to be hired every year to see what the utilizations of the rooms are gonna be and how to improve capacity in the schools. So I was just surprised, and I will question, and I will ask the board to consider whether or not this is a good use of the money and a good analysis for the current situation that our schools are in. Just for numbers' sake, I only have the Radburn numbers because I'm very close with my PTA and my school principal. I asked Nick for the enrollment numbers, and we don't have enrollment numbers for July and August for our minutes. I'm not sure why, but I understand. But Radburn went from 352 to 289, so an increase of 40 students for that particular school from July to today. So again, I just caution that this might not be the best way to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Alma. Any members of the public?
Lisa Yorman, 66 Nottingham Road. And I'm looking at number 11, policies. And I see that policy number 0167, which has something to do with the ability for the public to call in and ask, to listen audio, and if they want to ask questions during public sessions, including tonight, until I actually emailed and said, why isn't this available? I think that this was changed at the end of December of 2021, so I can't see that anything's changed since December 2021. And to remove the ability for public participation in a verbal interaction of asking questions rather than going on Google Forms or just listening in on YouTube. I think that's what you're looking at in that policy. And also, I know the policies have to have second reads. So I was A, wondering why it all of a sudden happened. B, it was announced on Facebook by a board member in a group that I don't necessarily go in and out of and check what everybody writes, because I have other things in my life that I have to do. But I just thought it was kind of, strange that all of a sudden I get it. They posted like two days earlier, and then all of a sudden I get an email that says, well, a board member posted it, and therefore that's the way it should be. Whereas the administration or the president of the board should be the one that should be announcing major changes to the way that the public can engage with the Board of Education. So I'm just putting on notice that I don't feel that any type of public participation via outside this room should be removed from that policy and or any regulations that you have. But I also feel that if there are members of the Board of Education, and when I was on the board, there was somebody that was calling in every summer, every meeting, 4 or 5 meetings, called in, during other times, they called in, and all of a sudden now, board members, if they can't make the meeting or they're sick, they can't call into the meeting. So I think that that's also, I don't have the policy number on that one, but I think it's a poor policy that a board member can't call in as a board member. I mean, that, there's a reason why board members are elected and they should be able
Mr.
to
Gurman, your time is
participate.
up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public like to speak? Okay, John.
Anybody online?
Yes.
So while you're doing that, I will read, there's one question.
Oh, is there a question?
Well, there's questions from the person that's calling in right now, actually wrote questions in the Google Doc as well. So we'll see which questions she's gonna ask, because we're not gonna do both of them.
Okay.
But there was a question about Eid, which I will come to, I will answer as well. Holiday. Eid.
Muslim holiday.
Hi, hello?
Hi, Rita, you're on. It's your turn.
Can you explain that she's participating as a?
Okay, Rita, hold on one second. Hold on. Rita, hold on.
This
Rita,
was changed like an hour before the meeting.
Rita, can you- Rita.
Let her go, let her go, it's fine.
Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
She's
Go
got her
ahead.
time.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, can
Shoot.
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so I wasn't sure if I was allowed to call in as a member of the public, not as a board member, because this was allowed only an hour before the meeting starts, so that I completed a Google form. But I noticed there was a problem with the Google form. There should have been sent an email request back to tell me that you received it and a copy of my questions. And I think that's one thing that we need to fix as a board needs to fix that, because you need to have a copy. Another thing is, are you going to read my questions, or do you want me to read the questions from the Google form? Or can you do both? How do you want to do
Well,
that?
whichever one you would like, because we typically just
Okay.
take questions either one way or the other. Usually people want to
Okay,
ask questions in
so
both.
I'll do mine then. Mr. Nadir stated that for the Bagada Hotel, which is part of their bills payable, $97 is paid per night, and after that, a board member or the staff has to pay the rest. So can you please explain why is it not paid? Why is the district paying all of it right away? Can you also please explain why certain people are doing 3 nights? Why is that? Who's paying for that? Why is it there's an SAT on the agenda tonight? There's an SAT course, and $40 per child is going to the community school, not to the instructor. I was wondering if that money, that $40 could be not waived for residents of Fairlawn, since they're taxpayers, and the district shouldn't take extra money from them. The ESS Northeast contract rate, it says that based on it says that the minimum wage set is January 2023. So why is the district implementing the increase in salary starting in July, and they're backtracking it 3 months in advance behind? And another question I have is the approval of the tentative budget calendar. How will the board be notified in January? That's one of the things that it says. So another thing I want to talk about is Google form is fun. Okay. I also think that there should this public way of calling in should be available to everybody. If we cannot do it as part of Zoom, then it can be done as Google Meet. There is a way for the district or whoever to get a phone number for people and get a number.
Okay,
and then
Rita,
they can call.
your 3 minutes is up.
Okay, so then I can come back, right? Once we have 30 minutes altogether, correct?
We'll make another round, yes.
Okay.
So we're gonna hang up, we'll call you back in a few minutes.
Do you want to see if anybody
Okay,
else wants to
sounds like a
speak
plan.
before she hangs up?
Okay, Rita, hold on a second, hold on, maybe you can go again now. Any other members of the public want to speak before Rita takes her second turn?
Are you done?
Okay.
Before she hangs up, just do it.
All right, Arita, okay, you're in luck. We got another 3 minutes. Nobody else wants to talk, so go ahead.
Hi, so I wanted to, I'm gonna be brief. I wanted to make, I was wondering if the administration looked into how much it would cost to do Google Meets. Since the district is already buying the license, so I was wondering if they looked into it, and if they did, how much it cost. And the last thing is, we got, the agenda on 5 o'clock on Friday, and, we have Rosh Hashanah, and this is a big holiday for my family. And I think it was very insensitive to get, one thing, we got an agenda, fine, not a big deal, but then we got 80 pages worth of policies to read, and I think that's very insensitive, culturally insensitive, especially if you're doing Shabbat on Saturday and Sunday and Monday and Tuesday.
Rita, you're supposed to be speaking as a member of the public.
I am.
No.
I can speak anything I want. I'm allowed to speak on anything I want. As a member of the public, I can say anything I
Okay,
want.
forget it. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
As long as I'm not being disrespectful in any way by saying like a person's name and saying horrible things about them, correct? Am I missing something?
No,
Mr.
go
Johnson?
ahead. John, the attorney says, say whatever you want.
Okay. So I think it's very culturally insensitive. I think if you're gonna give policies, they should have been done a week before, because not everybody is able to read them, and I'm sure most of the board hasn't read them at all. Okay, that's my, thank you.
Are you all done?
Yeah, and I'll come back.
Let it go.
You're gonna call me back for
When
the
we-
other portion, correct?
When we get to the other business, yes. Okay, we'll call you back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. So I will answer the questions. Some of them are comments, some of them are questions. As far as the architect, we're not necessarily not going to look at the elementary schools. We actually decided in our finance committee that we're gonna ask for a quote for what it would cost for the elementary schools to take a look at them as well. We do know that a lot of the concern was the bubble going up to the middle school and the high school. That's what the demographic study was showing, that's what Dr. Grip had shared with us. So, also, elementary schools are a little bit more straightforward when you're looking at a second grade classroom and there's 23 kids in there and they're in there all day. Whereas the middle school and high school, with the changing of classes at times, we wanna make sure that we're maximizing every piece of space possible. So, it is important for us, we think, to get that extra set of eyes. As we said that night when we presented on the demographic study, before we even start talking about the R word or the C word, referendum or construction, we wanna make sure we exhaust every option possible. And even if it means spending a couple dollars to make sure that we dot every I and cross every T before we go there, to make sure that we're using it properly. As far as Radburn and enrollment numbers, yeah, Radburn did go up. I did get a chance to, well, July and August, we're not in session, so like there would be no enrollment numbers to present out on. In September, we always present out on the prior month. So October's agenda, we'll have September. November's agenda, we'll have October. But I did get a chance to look at enrollment numbers yesterday and today. I will be sharing them soon with everybody, but I did see that Radburn is up. So you noticed as well, or information that you had gotten from the PTA. Radburn's up, TJ's up a little bit, the high school's up, but we're down compared to where Dr. Grip had us as a district. So where he had us up a certain amount of students, we're actually less than what he was projecting, which is a good sign. Not thrilled that we're seeing Radburn up at the numbers they're at, or TJ at the high school, but we're hanging on still. So we're being cautiously optimistic as we look at those numbers. But we are gonna work with the architects. Do I wanna do it every year? No, I don't wanna do it every year. I don't think it's something we have to do every year, but I think it does give us a fresh set of eyes to look at it. Mrs. Yerman, public participation policy, why? We spent $21,000 as a district for a Zoom license over the last 20 meetings or so that we've had since December, including meetings such as budget, demographic study, sex ed, health ed, contract hearing, all the controversial topics that you're seeing out there. We've had 2 people call in 20 meetings. 2 people, that's it. Well, 3 tonight, a board member calling in and somebody from the public. So, you know, at this time, we're taking $20,000 out of the classroom. This is money that could be going to our kids. So I think we need to have a question. Yes, was it needed in December 2021? We were still in the thick of COVID. now? Not so much, not so much. So I think we have to talk about, what are we spending our money on wisely? And is it worth it to keep renewing licenses on things that we could be putting that money back into the classroom and to the students? It was posted on the agenda, it was posted on the website. It popped up, so there was no cloak and dagger when it came to this, and that's the purpose of the board discussing it tonight, what they wanna do with the policy. You wanna leave it in? Leave it up, leave it in, spend more money on it. You wanna take it out? You take it out, but that's, the board sets policy. As far as Eid, a gentleman wrote in about Eid, how come we're not including that in our school calendar? This is something that we did discuss last year. This year, we added Diwali into our calendar. Not opposed to looking at Eid. We respect the community, we respect Fair Lawn and the diversity that is here in Fair Lawn. But we have a calendar with a certain amount of days, and it's something that we will definitely take into consideration when we're looking at the next calendar. I appreciate, I mean, that's kind of how Diwali wound up in the calendar. We had people come out, advocate for it, we took a look at it, and it was something we were able to do. Next year, it's something when we start the calendar over the next couple of months, we will definitely take into consideration. Mrs. Failovich calling as a member of the public and not a board member. I'm gonna try to tackle some of these. The Google form, I'm not really sure about sending an email back, but I did receive her email. The Borgata Hotel, a board member and myself are actually going down Sunday night, instead of waking up early Monday morning and driving down so that we can make the first session. The board has to do one order all at once, but then I reimburse the board for my night. So it'll come, I will pay for my Sunday night, and the board member will pay for their Sunday night, because it's not covered, but when we do an order, due to this conference, Wendy, my assistant, goes on, it does one big order at once, rather than chunking the reservations. So the taxpayers are not paying for my Sunday night, I am paying for my Sunday night, as well as the other board member. So we will reimburse the district. SAT course, thank you for your comment on that about waiving for Fair Lawn students. ESS Northeast sub, John, I'm not sure, it's not the July, rather January? No.
The
Minimum wage going up?
minimum, the contract is for the full year, so the proposal was to just keep it at what the minimum wage would be as
In
of January,
Gotcha.
rather than have to do two separate contracts.
Okay. The tentative budget calendar, that question was asked, we had already answered it. We had set our budget calendar based off of the finance committee and our conversations we had with them. If we decide to do something in January, we will let everybody know. I just explained why I think calling in, I gave my humble opinion on that. The second set of questions was Google Meets. Yeah, we talked about Google Meets. There are some concerns with of why we would want to go to Google Meets and security reasons with that. We did look into that, but also, once again, nobody's calling in, nobody's writing. So we're taking resources away of something that nobody's actually using. And Rosh Hashanah and being insensitive, I'm not gonna touch that with a 10-foot pole right now. Those are my comments.
Okay, thank you. All right. A motion for 3A, approval of minutes.
Board comments?
Oh, yeah, I forgot you guys. All right, Mike.
I just wanted to comment on a couple of the retirements, because there's a couple that are really, that are really harmful, I think, for the district. I'm happy for them. But Mrs. Basis, when I go to school programs and I see Mrs. Basis with her music program, the kids first of all adore her, and the music that comes out of the kids when she's directing them is amazing, absolutely positively amazing. And I wish her a lot of good luck. 25 years is a long time, and I really wish her a lot of good luck. Mr. Tarquinio, Vice Principal at Memorial, I wish him a lot of luck in the future. They're going to miss him at Memorial, and the students are going to miss him. I as well as the staff. And I don't know Mrs. Panayatov. Did I pronounce it right?
Mr.
Oh, Mr., I'm sorry. A biology teacher, but 26 years as a biology teacher at the high school, definitely deserves recognition. And the only thing else, let me see if there's anything else on here. I know it's something that we have to do by law, but I always like seeing the uniform memorandum of agreement between the Board of Education and the Fairlawn Police Department, because I feel that we have an incredible relationship with our police department. And not only having special threes in every building, but also with the regular police department and our school resource officer at the high school. And I think it's an incredible relationship between us and the police department. So I'm glad to see it on tonight. I know it's something that we're required to do every year, but it's should be mentioned. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Any other board members? Julie?
I just wanted to say how impressed I am with just our PTA and PTOs, but on this particular board agenda, there are 3 elementary PTAs that are donating over $21,000 to programs for our students, and I'm so grateful to those parents and volunteers and grandparents or whomever is involved, because that is really what helps our schools run and helps keep our teachers, sane and going by having the support of the families. So thank you to all of our PTOs.
Thank you, Julie. Joe?
So along those lines, I wanted to just point out all of the extracurricular trips that were being approved tonight, since I haven't had the privilege to do that last year. But as we get field trips back up, we're seeing classes going out, and that's exciting, I think. It's showing that we are getting back to some sort of normal. I also wanted to highlight, since it gets lost somewhere in the finance stuff, the ticket platform for the high school for the performances that we'll be doing, to have an online ticket sales for our musicals and plays to make it more accessible for the community members. But to note that they can still be purchased outside of the platform. So just wanted to recognize that and thank the board or the administration for looking into that and the students.
Thank you, Joe. Mark?
Yes, I wanted to congratulate our parents and staff, students, and the Board of Ed for how well our district performed last year, according to the niche report that came out. I believe we came in 26, I'm sorry, out of all the districts in the state of New Jersey. So kudos to everybody who was involved in that. I also wanted to say that I, along with another board member, probably 8 years ago or so, fought for different ways of increasing community participation and involving the media in doing so. And that's how we originally got the televised meetings for these board meetings. But I have to say that if we're spending $20,000 and Zoom is not being used by but just a few individuals, I think it's foolish for us to continue spending that money, which, as Nick said, can be used in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody else, board members? What?
I was going to say all these things, but somebody jumped ahead, but I'll try to just do a brief second again. Join previous board members. Thank you to PTAs for your general donations. Thank you. Congratulations to retirees, especially to all the buses. You're entering the better part of your life. Congratulations. Congratulations to the administration for being ranked number 26 in New Jersey. And I think there are two things to mention. First, number 26 is good, and secondly, it is improvement from last year, which is even more important. Another thing, as we all know, Dr. Grip predicted, the demographer predicted looming real estate crisis. And thank you for doing something, in this case for having architects walk through schools and see if we can improve something, prevent the crisis. Also thank you to the administration for meeting with Ukrainian refugees. You had a productive meeting, good, thank you. Then one other thing I wanted to ask, one second, using this thing. Item 7E6, we are approving, 7E6, this is approving extra compensation. Some of the positions are still empty. They are TBD, and the dollar amount is empty because the person is TBD. How can we approve?
You're not approving them, it's just, we're leaving it blank, and then next month, there'll be somebody on there.
So
You're not approving the TBDs, there's no name there.
Should they be deleted from the agenda then? How does it work?
I mean, I don't feel like it needs to be deleted, but I'll ask our attorney, I mean, it just says TBD, there's no money.
Sure. Noting for the record that all the TBDs, there's no action being taken tonight, and names will appear at a subsequent meeting where you're going to be taking action.
Okay, okay. Okay, now, we're discussing the policy now or the policy later?
Now.
No, okay. So for the public participation of the meetings, I think I'm gonna repeat what Rita said a little bit. Have you guys looked at other cheaper alternatives, like WebEx, Microsoft Teams, or whatever other providers are of these kind of services for people to call in to make it cheaper than $20,000?
So I think this board needs to, I could look at programs in blue in the face. I think it's more a matter of a want than a need, or maybe a need versus a want, depending on who you are and what side of the table you're sitting on. Where, once again, I'm just gonna throw it out to the board, is this something that you want to do? Or is this something that you feel we need to do and we're compelled to do, that people are like, I need to call into the board meeting? 2 people in 20 meetings. So if you once again, you're pulling resources away from something. Even if it's $1,000, $2,000, we're paying somebody overtime to be here to work the technology for this. If it's free, but nobody's utilizing it. We had this conversation when we implemented the policy, and it was somewhat of a heated conversation. Everybody, it wasn't a 9-0 vote, but we went with it and we figured it out, and we went with the Zoom webinar feature. It wasn't utilized, even the Google form. And I'm not saying that I wish there was 100 people in the audience. I mean, I'm happy that you're here. Thank you for coming. But it's not that people are beating down the doors to come to our board meetings and comment. Maybe we're not that excited. I don't know. I'll take it. But is this something? Yeah, we're excited. I think this board needs to make a decision. Do you want to continue with a call-in, or is it time for us to move forward in a post-COVID world? I mean, or a pre-COVID world? We didn't utilize this before. We did, and I understand why we did it. I understand, who was worried about coming to a meeting with a mask on, without a mask on, who had somebody at home that may have been immunocompromised. I get it, but we're not there right now. We're not there right now, and if we go back there, that's the beauty of the board meeting on a monthly basis. Maybe we need to revisit the policy again, or do it. Maybe we don't need to revisit the policy again, but we just decide to do it as a board. But right now, we had a subscription for Zoom that was expiring, and we had to make a decision. Do we re-up the subscription for another $21,000, or do we say that we weren't getting our money's worth out of it because people weren't utilizing it? And I think that's the conversation that you need to decide right now. Are you going to remove it from the policy, or are you going to leave it in?
Can I respond?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with everything, and $21,000 for 2 calls, that's too expensive, I agree. And my opinion, will depend, on the policy will depend on the cost. If there is nothing cheaper than $20,000, it's not worth it. But if there is something for $2,000, then I would say, yeah, it is worth it. So that's why I was asking about the price.
Anything else, Bud? Cindy?
In regards to the policy, we had great discussion when this was all brought about. And the board was very supportive of stopping the call-ins when someone was away, the participation in closed session over a telephone, because it wasn't a good idea. And we were all in agreement to do that. So it wasn't changed because of what happened with the turnover of the board. It was, the policy was made because it simply was changed because it simply wasn't good. So that's where we are now as far as the call-ins, and we were all in agreement that it was just not a good thing to be able to do that. That if there are extenuating circumstances, you're talking to the board president, you're letting him know. And we had a lengthy discussion about that. So, I want to clear up the misconception that maybe we changed the policy because of the change over the board. It was not that at all. It was because that particular policy portion was not a good fit and not a good thing to have happen. And I'm glad that it was changed.
You're speaking specifically about board members calling, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
You seen the email?
Yes, I'm done, thank you.
Mike, second time.
I'm actually commenting on this particular, that we're going back and forth with.
Yeah, this is your second time.
So, yeah, we had actually, before we changed the policy, before we got to the policy, we actually talked about it as a board, and we decided as a whole board that it wasn't a good idea and it wasn't really working for people to call in. One of the reasons was if 2 people needed to call in, that was a problem, and it was talked about at length. A lot of things change over the years. Things don't stay stagnant. So we decided as a board that was the best thing to do, and then we put it into policy. And while we were deciding that, no one called in, and I know one meeting I missed, and I would have needed to call in, and it was decided that it wasn't a good idea. And I think that there was, it wasn't me who brought this whole thing up, it was other members of the board, and including newer members of the board. So I agree now that that's in policy, that should stay in policy. As far as the call-ins, I was always under the impression that if we have an alternate way of people getting their voices across to us, that we have done our job, and we have that with Google Forms. I did agree while we had Zoom to open it up to Zoom, and I was actually one of the people that had it, that voted yes to put Zoom as one of the ways to call in. But now that it's costing $20,000, which in the scheme of things isn't all that much, because we have a lot of classrooms, so $20,000 into the classroom is $20,000 is $20,000, but in the scheme of things, it's not that much. I do feel, though, that it's not necessary if we have another way for the public to come in to our meetings. And the public could always email the superintendent and get a hold of the superintendent and the administrative staff if they have any pressing questions. And there is a way to get hold of the board too.
Got that, Mike?
Yep.
Thank you. Julie?
So I just want to make 2 points, because I want to be really clear here. Cindy and Mike, you guys are speaking that you feel like it's not beneficial to our board to have board members call in. Correct?
Right
Okay.
now.
I agree with that. I think that as elected officials, we've been asked to find the time and make the effort to be here as people who have been elected by our community members. This is what we have shared we are willing to do. If we can't make it, we can't make it. That's on us. We all have other responsibilities and things that we need to attend to at times. But if we consistently are unable to make it, then we need to consider if this is the best role for us to be involved and volunteer in our community. So I do agree that this is an appropriate thing to continue to not have in our policies as board members attending meetings. Secondly, at this point in time, I am all for community involvement, community participation. I hear from people everywhere I go. They call me, they text me, they DM me, they find me on Facebook, they find me in CVS, they find me wherever I am. And I love that. However, if you have a question, that question starts with your community leader in your school. Start there. Every conversation does not have to come to the board. And if it gets to that point, it doesn't have to be at a board meeting. However, come to meetings, get involved. That's a great way to be a volunteer and participate in your child's education, in your community's community, because I don't have another word for it.
That was good.
But I don't necessarily know if having our administration continue to look at alternative options is a productive use of our time, or your time, a productive use of our finances. I don't care if it's $20,000 or $2.50. That is $2.50 that can be used elsewhere. And we sit here and we spend all this time looking at finances and finding ways to be more fiscally responsible. 2 call-ins is not fiscally responsible. So we'd like to make a motion to remove it from the policy.
Just a clarifying procedural question.
Yes, that was a mic drop.
You were done, right, Julie?
I'm done.
Okay. Shoot.
Just a procedural question.
Before we get to your procedural question, with respect, there's a motion, is there a second for the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion and a second, thank you. Go ahead, Vlad.
If the vote takes place now, that will be the first reading, then next month we'll have to do the second reading,
Yeah.
and then it's final,
Yes.
right? Yep.
All right, so just the motion to remove from policy 0167, remove 2A2, telephone calling. The rest of the policy stays the same. Is that, you're moving?
That's the
Okay.
motion.
Okay, we're gonna move in a second. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Waldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Itkin,
No,
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
Mr. Barbarella,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
and Mr. Banta.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion is carried.
Just want to clarify something. Mr. Icken had asked second reading. The second reading will either be at the next board meeting, or we may have a policy meeting in between, which is still Board of the Whole, where that second reading may be at that meeting as well. Because we actually, at our policy meetings, we've been taking action so that we can move the policies along. So whichever one comes first.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so any other board comments? Anybody can speak or wants to speak again that didn't speak twice? Okay, thank you. All right, so. Approval of minutes, motion number 3.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have to abstain on August 25th minutes because I was
Okay.
there.
Well, I was gonna say all opposed, but now, if you want to stay, tell John.
I'm abstaining on August 25th minutes.
You weren't here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, on August 22nd.
Okay, so it passes just with Glenn's. Superintendent, can I have a motion for 5A through I, please?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Barbarillo,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
Mr. Akin,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yeah.
and Mr. Banter.
Yes. We have a motion for 6A through E, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Mahan,
6, right?
Six.
Yeah.
Six.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Akin,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes.
Mr. Barbarillo,
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
and Mr. Banter.
Yes. A motion for 7A through L, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Barbarillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes, with the exception of 7D 5, 11, 14, 24, 25, and 26. I'm abstaining.
you go with those again?
5, 11, 14, 24, 25, and 26.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Mr. Akin,
Yes.
oh, that's it? I thought you were next.
Okay, the way you're saying, yeah?
I was gonna clarify that according to John's note, the TBD items are removed, but otherwise, yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
and Mr. Banter.
Yes. May I have a motion for 8A through D, please?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Spindell. Yes. Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
Mr. Barbarillo,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Akin,
Yes.
and Mr. Banter.
Yes. What, 9?
9.
9, okay. A motion for 9A through F.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
Mr. Akin,
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
Mr. Barbarillo,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell.
Yes.
And Mr. Banter.
Yes. Motion for 10A through Y.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Akin,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Barbarillo,
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
and Mr. Banter.
Yes. Okay, number 11 we did already. We now go.
Another one there? Harassment.
I think there's
There's
a,
Yeah.
another policy.
Harassment.
Harassment, intimidation.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, we only, okay, yeah, all right, sorry. Policy 11, on 11A, policy 5512.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, yeah, sorry, but forgot about that one. Okay. All right, that's it. Now back to public comments on other business. Remember the public, would like to speak. Step up, state your name, sign in, and direct your comments to the chair, please.
Oh, again.
Hi.
I just want to invite everybody, October 8th, Radburn Bee Park. I'm having again the Entrepreneur Fairs for youth. We have 31 teams of kids bringing their businesses to the park. So they're from all over our district. We have Forest kids, Vibrant kids, Mills kids, so just come and support them and check the wonderful things that they're doing.
Thank you all.
What time is that?
What time is that?
2 to 4, October 8th, Bee Park, Radburn.
Thank you. Any other members of the public like to speak?
Lisa Yorman. I just want to commend whoever changed the agenda to the format that it's in right now. It looks great, it's very easy to read, it's very clear, and I just want to say thank you for that. Then my question, just moving along with the policy that you just changed, But going into something new is, how many seats were we paying for on Zoom? Because if we were paying for thousands of seats, then it would be $21,000. But it also, it's not out there that, the community doesn't know all these things exist. And there's gotta be some kind of tool that you have to let the community know that this is available. So that, they don't know about YouTube, they don't know about Zoom, they don't know about Google Forms, but you wanna get the community involved as opposed to just the parents of the kids that are in the district, because it really, the budget and everything else just affects the whole community. So like surveys that you do, the community doesn't know about it unless they have it in school. So the one thing that I wanted to ask was how many seats, because if you're saying not a lot of people need to, or I don't know how many seats you had on Zoom, but if you have the people that are in the room here plus add 25 seats for the public to be able to get in is probably about $500 a month, which I don't think is a grand expense if you're out there telling the community that this is available. Because I see nothing that ever says, oh, and by the way, blah, 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 blah. There's nothing in the newspaper, there's no press release, there's nothing that says that this is available to the public. And that's the community in general, not just, okay? And that's really it. And again, I thank the person with the new agenda. It was very easy to follow, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Seeing none? I gotta call Rita.
Did you have anything?
Oh, you have anything else, Nick?
Well, I think it's Rita on here, but call her. I'm not sure if she wants us to do questions on here.
Was there a name on it?
I think it's.
Well, she wants to call anyway, so we'll
Yeah,
just
that's
call.
fine. And I mean, these are really board questions, not calling as public members, but callers.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Lisa Yarman again. So going back to how closed sessions are very sensitive and anybody can listen into a closed session. And I totally agree that a board member shouldn't call in on a call when you're in closed session. So 100% agree with that. But if somebody's not well, or they have a family member that's not well, or they just happen to be away, I think we can look at other options of having board members call in for at least the public session, because I think, as I said, if it's closed session, I get it totally, but for an open session, it's just like anybody else that's sitting in this room. And I don't see why a board member can't call in on the conference calling that we've had for years. So that's just my opinion on that. No question. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hello?
Hi, Rita, you're up again.
Oh, cool. I can talk already?
Yes, yep, it's all you.
Alright, so I have a couple of questions. Can you please explain the employee lottery day off? Can you please explain how is it conducted? Can you please explain what employees are affected? Can you please explain why it does not need board approval? To come back with two other things from my previous question. It's on the budget calendar that says board members and the finance committee will be updated in January. I was wondering how will board members be updated as the budget committee? I also think it is important that when you update a policy, you update the regulations that goes with it. A policy describes how things should be running, and the regulation tells you exactly what to do, like step by step. So policy 0155, our policy has small committees and large committees for education, but the regulation has only a large committee as a whole. It has nothing with small committees. So these this policy and this regulation do not match. I have brought this attention before, but nobody's really fixing it. And I think if the board updates any policy or regulations, they also have to update. They have to update both at the same time so they match. Another thing is the enrichment after school. When are they going to start? Will there be enrichment after school for elementary for music and art? The last thing I want to talk about is I found that it was very interesting. Livingston School District provides courtesy busing for their children to make sure that their children come to school safe, and it's $800 a year. And I feel like if Livingston School District is able to provide that for their children, so should Fairlawn be able to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rita. You done?
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay, Nick?
Thank you for your comments, everyone. Thank you for your comments on Zoom. So the Employee Wellness Day, as you all know, we're coming out of a pandemic, and we're concerned about our students and our staff. And one of the initiatives one of our district goals is about student and staff wellness and making sure we take care of them. And this is something that I believe in my heart. This is something that we believe as a district. This is something that the community believes because we saw it in the survey results. This is something that we got behind and voted as a board to support. One of the initiatives that we rolled out this school year, which I'm really proud of, is a wellness day lottery. Every Friday, we put every staff member's name and we spin the wheel, and whoever staff member gets picked, they get a wellness day to use during the school year to take care of themselves and use it for whatever they want, to hit the reset button. In these times, it's very stressful, and and we need to acknowledge that. We want our staff to feel appreciated here in Fairlawn. We need to get behind our staff here, and we thought it was a great idea to acknowledge our staff. So every Friday, spin the wheel, a name pops out, and that person has a day that they could use whenever they want to use throughout the school year. Simple, it's nice. A lot of times people not every staff member even needs a substitute to replace them. Minimal cost to the district. The board was informed of this. I explained it to them. They knew about it. I thought it was important for us to start at the beginning of the school year rather than wait until after a board meeting and start in October. We wanted to start on the right foot and doing it. And it's been really well received. None of us put our names in it, so you'll never see our name get picked. But it is done every Friday morning, and we send an email out. So something nice that Mrs. Failovich had brought up. Thank you for your comments about the budget calendar, the committees, your enrichment questions, and courtesy busing in Livingston. No comment.
Okay, thank you. Board members, other business, Cindy.
I just wanted to make the board aware and the public as well that the Fairlawn Sunrise Rotary Club is sponsoring a fundraiser for the Santucci family who lives in Fairlawn. They have 4 boys with a debilitating disease. So the Fairlawn Sunrise Rotary is putting together a dinner, dance, and tricky tray on November 12th at 7 o'clock at the Brownstone in Patterson. We're raising money to try to purchase a 2-wheelchair van for the family to help them get their boys where they need to go. I'm part of Sunrise Rotary, as is Nick.
Am I a guest speaker too on Tuesday?
Yes, you are. You are.
I am.
Yes.
Tuesday morning, 7:30 in the morning.
It's a
I really am.
4-hour presentation.
What?
Is it 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock? I thought it was
5:45.
7:30. It's 7:30. But
Sorry,
I would
digress.
ask that anybody who's interested in going, you can get in touch with Kathy Marinello, who is the chairperson. And if you go on the Fair Lawn Sunrise Rotary Facebook page, you will see all of the information, and there is a donate button if you cannot attend the function, but you would like to make a donation. And I just would ask everybody, the community of Fair Lawn always rallies around people that are in need. The generosity of this town is absolutely incredibly amazing. And I know that with everybody's help, we can get these boys what they need and try to ease some of the family's turmoil and heartache and heartbreak. The cameos will be playing at the dinner dance. There is a tricky tray. The tickets are $100. It includes beer and wine, cash bar, and the dinner and the dancing. Again, Fair Lawn Sunrise Rotary Facebook page gives you all the information, and it also has a beautiful picture of the Santucci boys. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that.
Thank you.
So I was able to welcome the new student rep before she had to leave for the night, but I simply wanted to make a comment on the fact that, this year it became law in New Jersey that Board of Educations needed a student rep on their board. Fair Lawn has had that for decades. That goes back to the 60s that student dialogues have happened with the high school and the Board of Education, and I think that really highlights our relationship with the students, and hopefully we continue to build upon that strong relationship that we have with our students. I also wanted to thank the student guides last night at Fair Lawn High School's Back to School Night for being a great source of knowledge and making sure all the parents got where they had to go. It was a great opportunity to see the school and see it alive again with parents back in the building. And then simply just wanted to highlight that this weekend is busy in town with the PTA's Fall Festival on Sunday. Feel free to look out for me at a game booth. I'm not sure what one I'm doing. On Sunday. Did I say?
It is Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sunday.
Okay, yes, Sunday. As well as the second annual tree planting at Brookdale Park. Gonna highlight that as a member of the Green Team and Open Space Committee as well. So more trees, yes. We need to green up Fair Lawn there. So thank you.
Thank you. Ron?
I missed it on before. I just wanted to congratulate and thank the class of 2022 for their another scholarship going out to the future seniors. Again, it shows you how great our graduates are, that they constantly give back to the school or the district that helped them grow. I think the last 3 or 4 years, all the graduating classes have added scholarships. So again, it's a tribute to our school district. So I want to just congratulate them. That was great.
Thank you. Any other board members? Mike?
Todd, I've got a couple of things. First of all, now, because this is open comments, I want to just say congratulations again for number 26 on NEACH for our school system. I go by a little different way as far as looking at all these surveys, and because what tends to happen to them is they change every year, and the criteria changes. There's some things that are beyond our control, as in population of Fair Lawn and stuff like that. I feel that many schools in Bergen County come in toward each other. There's some cool points when I look at it, when we beat a Glen Rock and we beat, I kind of like that, or we're right around a Glen Rock. There was one that we beat that we usually don't necessarily, but I also want to say that me personally, I think if any schools are in the top 100, that it's excellent, because again, in Bergen County, we have a lot of excellent school districts, and we all fall within it. But that Fair Lawn's in the mix, and Fair Lawn is number 26 this year. That is phenomenal, phenomenal. And it says something about our town, because niche is based more on the borough itself and the people in the borough. So the fact that were rated that high and the boroughs rated that high says something about the town that we chose to live in and raise our kids in. And for me, my grandkids. I also want to say, just because we're saying everything that's going on this weekend, on Saturday, the rescue squad down at Memorial is having a food truck day. So you could go down and there's gonna be like 20 food trucks down at Memorial Park. If it's a rainy day, it's going to be postponed to Sunday, so you could go to the high school class of 2023, what do they call it? The PTA Fall Festival. For project graduation, and then you could go down and eat down at Memorial Park if it happens to be on Sunday. So good luck to all the organizations. And I got a chance to go, as I do every year, I got a chance, but I haven't been able to the last couple of years because of COVID. I had a chance to go to a bunch of back-to-school nights the past couple weeks, even tonight before the meeting. And I just want to say one thing, that the parents were they were the same with anticipation going in as they were coming out, which says a lot, because it says that what they heard at the schools, they were very happy with. And I got a chance to speak to some of the parents that I knew, and they were very happy with what they saw, and very appreciative of our teachers, who, it's tough to be a teacher these days, and so I want to thank the teachers in particular for giving up their time at night to meet the parents, and thank our parents for going to the schools and walking the hallways of the schools that their kids walk every day. Yep.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Julie.
I should have piggybacked off of what Joe had shared. I'm just gonna bring up something I brought up a little over a year ago, I guess. I love having our community here, and I love having our students here, and I would love to see, in addition to a high school and both middle school student candidates, I'd love to see rotating elementary students. I think that what goes on in our 6 elementary schools is absolutely incredible. I have spoken to children grades K through 4 who are extraordinarily articulate and capable of sharing all of the incredible things that take place. And although a lot of things that happen in each of these 6 elementary schools are consistent, they take form of how things go in the community of Milnes and Radburn and Forest and Lindcrest and West and Warren Point, and there's nothing better to hear it from our own student population. So I'd really love to see that happen at some point. And it would get some of our community members in here because they have to bring their own kids. That's it.
Thank you, Julie. Any other board members?
Yeah.
I do want to say one thing about a comment that was made regarding board members staying home and calling in. Suppose all 9 board members did that. There'd be nobody at the meeting. It's just beyond thinking, in my sense anyway, that you run for a position, you understand you're going to be out a few nights a month, maybe more, sometimes it's a few nights in a week. You got to come to the meetings. Things come up. I don't expect everybody to come to every meeting. I miss meetings. Everybody here has missed a meeting, usually for good reasons, sometimes for not so good reasons, but that's understandable. You have a life besides this. But to just say, I don't want to come, and I want to, for whatever reason, you got elected to come here to the meeting and be here and give your opinion and vote on things. So I will never, ever agree that a board member cannot come to the meeting and just stay home and do it. Because then, next thing you know, The only person gonna be here is gonna be the tech people. And the rest of us, all, and maybe a couple of people in the audience, and the rest of us will be on a screen. And we're trying to get away from that, COVID nonsense. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, before we close.
I did promise the education committee that we did discuss REACH in the month of September. It was a great dialogue, we were in there for a good hour and a half. We discussed many things in our education committee meeting, but we're gathering some more information, and then we'll be meeting with the education committee again, and then we'll be able to share some more information with the public. But we did have that meeting, and I did promise that I would report out in public at the next meeting. So when we have more information, I will let you know. So, thank you.
Thanks for education, maybe just small education will be as a whole.
Small probably at this point.
Next month, the meeting is when?
I'm going to email the 20th because we have school boards convention,
Right.
so Thursday the 20th.
Okay.
But there's a chance we may have committee meetings and a policy meeting either on October 10th and the 13th. But Monday I'll send out dates to everybody.
Okay, but public meeting is 20.
Yes,
Okay.
public meetings.
And it'll be back at,
It'll be back at Memorial.
back in Memorial, okay. Not that I don't like this one.
No, oh, this is a home game for us. It's not-
Yeah.
No ice cream.
All right, that being said, can I have a motion to recess into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna take like a 5-minute break,
I'm gonna keep my cap.
come back for closed session. Thank you all for coming.
Congratulations to